What's up, guys? I'm Justin from Hunting Product Guru, and I want to welcome you to the channel. As you can see today, we are checking out two rifles. They look very precision-like. These are the BMPs from Bergara. One is chambered in a 6.5 Creedmoor, and the other is chambered in a 308 Win. There's a few similarities in the two, and there's a little bit differences, and I want to run down those through with you, so hang tight. All right, guys, first off, I want to show you a comparison between the two that we're looking at right here. Somewhat similar, but there are little differences, and I want to point those out right now. So this Bergara 6.5 Creedmoor this weighs in 11 pounds. Overall length is 43.5 inches with a 24-inch barrel and a 1/8 twist rate. It's a number 6 taper barrel. It comes with a 5-round AICS detachable mag. And as you can see, it has this BMP chassis here. This chassis is durable. I like it. It's got this backstock here that raises. It has some adjustable cheek areas back here, and it's a really comfortable gun to shoot. Next, we're going to talk about this 308 Win. This comes in at just 10.15 pounds, a little lighter than the 6.5 Creedmoor. The overall length is a little shorter. It's got 39.5-inch overall length with a 20-inch barrel and a 1-in-10 twist rate. So there's a few similar differences that you can see between the two. They both obviously come with that 5-round detachable AICS mag, a number 6 taper barrel. It comes with threads, everything you need to put all of your precision rifle shooting attachments on here that you could possibly think of. Both have the same very similar stock that you can see. Overall, the look and feel of these guns is absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to get that out there before we start debating and talking about the 6.5 Creedmoor versus the 308. So now we're going to kind of get into, I'd like to get into how I felt shooting both of these rifles. And they're both topped with a little bit different scopes. This one has the Razor HD scope from Vortex, which is, this is a beautiful scope. Whenever you go see precision shooting, you're going to see the scope quite a bit in the matches that I've been to. It sure has been. This one has the Viper HS. Both of these scopes are extremely great. They're both from Vortex, so I just want to give them a shout out for sending me these for these rifles and ultimately for this review. So now let's talk about ammunition. For this comparison video, I bought Hornady ammunition because I wanted to have the most similarities from a manufacturer point of view that I could. So here we have a Hornady hollow point boat tail bullet, 140 grain for the 6.5 Creedmoor. That is a screaming bullet. And for the 308, we're shooting 178 grain ELDX. Now, it's important to know that I use match grade ammo whenever I first shot these rifles and sighted them in. So just wanted to point that out there. Now, the 6.5 Creedmoor, I'll tell you that I got it zeroed in the first try. Absolutely dream gun. My personal opinion on the 6.5 Creedmoor was I've been wanting this cartridge for a long time. And whenever I was talking with Bergara, I mentioned that to them. And this, it's been a debate with the 6.5 Creedmoor and the 308 because the 308's just been around. It's been there. It's been reliable. With the 6.5 Creedmoor, this is a relatively new cartridge. It's becoming popular in the precision rifle, but it's also becoming more popular in the hunting market, which is ultimately where I want this review to go to. I want to kind of give you my opinion on what I would take in what application I would have each of these rifles. Now, obviously, these are a heavy gun, so you would not want to pack in with these guns. In that regard, I only want to talk specifics to the cartridge. So with the 308, you're going to have one thing to keep in mind is, I'm shooting 178 grains versus 140 grain. Ultimately, that is going to lead to a little bit beefier of a kick. The 6.5 Creedmoor, you don't feel it at all. And I'll say that the 6.5 Creedmoor, I feel like the way this gun sits right now, I could shoot this almost all day, probably until the barrel melted. It's a dream gun. I like the cartridge. If you couldn't tell, I kind of am favoring it over the 308, but that does not mean this 308 is not something you would want to shelf. This is a very reliable gun. I've talked to many of you, and almost everyone has gone to the 308 because this has been a trusted round that people have had for years. I mean, your granddad had, your dad had, and it's passed on to you. That's kind of how I got started shooting and definitely got into the 308 caliber. So now the bullet arc from a 6.5 Creedmoor, this is more of a flat shooting gun, and if you want extreme specifics, those will be found elsewhere. But I want to tell you from my experience, the bullet drop at 1,000 yards is far more significant on the 308 versus the 6.5 Creedmoor. Now all of that's obvious, but what does that mean in a hunting scenario, and why is a 6.5 Creedmoor becoming more of it's in demand? I'll tell you this, based on my experience in what I saw at some PRS shooting matches, is there's less opportunity for variable to mess with the bullet with the 6.5 Creedmoor versus a 308. Now, what that means is with the 6.5 Creedmoor versus a 308, if you're shooting at 1,000 yards, which there is no doubt in my mind that both of these calibers can shoot 1,000 yards. It just depends on how many clicks you're going to have to go up and over depending on the wind. That just leaves more room for error and more room for Mother Nature to throw off your bullet. And that's ultimately why I wanted to bring my opinion to the table with the 6.5 Creedmoor versus the 308. Any article that you read, they are mainly going to be talking about the shooting styles at PRS matches and things like that. So I bring the hunting aspect to it, and the way I see it is this: the 308 is a reliable round, the 6.5 is a reliable round. For what I've seen on benches, they've both been extremely. I wouldn't doubt my mind that these two calibers I would have on any hunt. Now, shooting long ranges and what animal that you would shoot it at depends on which one I would take. So the 6.5 Creedmoor, I feel very, very confident that this is a 500-yard gun on a mule deer. I feel like you hit the vitals, you're going to be taking down, and that I'm talking about a big northern mule deer. Now I'm pretty sure I'll catch some flack on that, but that's without having tested it. That's what I feel confident in, and they say in any hunting style, you want to have confidence in your rifle. And I've shot a 25-06 for a number of years, and then I switched to the 25-06 from a 7 mag. So I believe in my guns, and I know how to shoot them. Now, 308, I feel like depending on the scenario, you could reach out that far. But I also think you're going to be able to take a bigger game animal, which is why a lot of outfitters require at least 308 or bigger for their hunting situations, because they want to make sure that you aren't out there wounding animals, which I can completely agree with, and I think you could too. So that's kind of the hunting scenario that I would ultimately take the chambered 6.5 Creedmoor and the 308. Obviously, these are BMPs. These are bench guns. These are applicable for like a Kopfjäger tripod mount. I've had the 6.5 and the 308 both on the Kopfjäger Reaper Rest. And if you don't know what that is, I encourage you to check that out. Those guys are great. They make a great product. It's quality. It's durable. And ultimately, that's where you would want to use this gun, is in a bench type situation here. Obviously, I have bipod mounts on these. These are heavy guns. I have not measured the total weight with Vortex scopes, but these are not guns you want to be taking to the backcountry. Having just got back from my Montana trip, it's not a gun that I would carry around 15 miles on our first day for sure. So I did good enough with my 7-pound bow. But the 6.5 Creedmoor, ultimately, that's where I would see that going. Now, obviously, you see a lot of features like the vertical grip. The trigger in these guns, I actually really like. And I've been shooting them with a buddy of mine, and he's very confident in guns, and he also really likes the Bergara setup. So that tells me that Bergara's got it going on here. And that's ultimately why I have these rifles, because I believe in this company. So that's where I'd go in what I would use on the applications of these scopes. These are both great rifles. These are dependable cartridges. 6.5 Creedmoor is becoming more popular. And with it becoming more popular, price of ammunition will start going down, availability will start going up, and that's exactly where I think this is going to fall in line with the 308. That's where I saw a lot of comments of people talking about they want the 308 because cheaper ammunition, it's more available. And that's where the 6.5 Creedmoor, the popularity is driving the cost down, availability up, which is a great thing for us all. Match grade ammo, both of these guns shot great. These are both sub MOA guns at 100 yards, and I'll testify to that. So that is what I would suggest and what my opinion is based on the hunting scenario of the 6.5 Creedmoor and 308. Next, I want to talk about price. The BMPs ring in at just under $1,700, and if you know anything about match precision, which I'm slowly getting into, that is a very, very affordable gun, and for a sub MOA gun at 100 yards, fresh out of the box, that's awesome. These did not need to be barrel broken. These both shot great. I honestly love shooting the 6.5 Creedmoor more than the 308, only because I had been dying for a 6.5 Creedmoor for a long time. Doesn't mean the 308 was any more less desirable to me, because this is still a really great gun. But under $1,700 to have all the features that you have, the raise and lower cheek rest, the buttstock that it can extends, the AR style like pistol grip, the 5-round detachable AICS mag. It was very easy for me to attach a bipod. These rotate. I mean, I firmly believe that the BMPs are great for introductory and intermediate precision shooting. The 6.5 Creedmoor, this was shooting my first time at 1,000 yards. We had less than a foot group. So for me, that's not my forte. I was very happy with it. Now, we didn't get to stretch out the 308 to 1,000 yards because we had some variables that we had to deal with, and which is what I was talking about. I'm shooting a heavier grain bullet out of this 308 than the 6.5 Creedmoor, but ultimately, guys, they're both great rifles, and the debate is going to be a debate until something else comes along. And I stand by 6.5 Creedmoor. Not that it beats out the 308. It's just I've had the 308. This is becoming more popular. This is the new kid on the block that not everybody wants to know that they're friends with. And so whenever I probably am going to catch a little bit of flack for saying I like the 6.5 Creedmoor, and especially I'll take the 6.5 Creedmoor in most hunting situations that I'll ever be in, says a lot. So if you're curious to know more, please, about the BMPs, please go to bergarausa.com. And if you have any questions, please leave them below. Again, this is my opinion, some factual information between the two that I found, and ultimately, I want you to make your own judgment. So please go check out bergarausa.com, leave any comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, and we're going to talk to you later.